Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I will tell you how to make a great bag that you can finish very quickly. I knitted my bag with canvas and prepared it. We used the chain technique completely. We prepared our knitted handle on our bag. There is a lock like this on the mouth. Look, it has snaps. I want to show it on the inside. It turned out to be a very useful deep bag. Not too big, not too small. I prepared a medium-sized bag. I shared its dimensions with you in detail in the video. Look, the back of our bag is like this. Its side bellows. It progresses so easily and pleasantly. In other words, even someone who does not know how to knit at all, even someone who only chains, I am sure can prepare such a bag very easily. I shared all the details with you step by step in the video. I hope it will be useful. Before moving on to our recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. You can subscribe to our channel for free. I would be really happy if you liked the video and do not forget to leave your comments. Let's move on to our recipe. I used a ready-made plastic canvas like this for my bag. Its size doesn't matter to you. You can prepare your bag in any size you want. Look, I want to show you my pieces. This is from canvas, rectangular canvas. The width of the canvas I used was 33 centimeters and its length was 50 centimeters. Look, we took out 3 pieces here. This is the edge, the side, the bellows and the body of our bag. It's a rectangular piece like this. I want to share its dimensions with you right away. The front piece of our bag in Pexim measures 26 centimeters. It's new. We can say that its length is 48.5-49 centimeters. Now I want to give you the dimensions of these pieces. The side bellows. Its width is 6 centimeters and its length is 22 centimeters. These are my measurements. Now how did I cut these pieces out of this canvas? I want to explain this to you briefly. It actually has a very simple logic. Look, there are boxes here for how wide I want the width, how deep I want this bag to be. Look, I want to show you up close. There are boxes. You can divide your piece very equally by counting these boxes. I counted 14 boxes here. I left 14 boxes and started cutting. I will show you how I cut it. Look, I cut a long rectangular piece from here. In other words, look at these pieces. They were like this. I cut these pieces. After cutting a long rectangle here, look, these are the side pieces. Bellows parts. Here I divided this piece equally in two. I divided the piece I removed from here in half. There is a large rectangular piece left here. Now what should I pay attention to here? Look at the longest side here. Look at the long side there. I'm counting this one by one. I've already noted it down. There were 118 boxes in total here. For example, now I remove the 2 pieces here, like this of course. Before dividing, I definitely recommend that you cut it with safety pins before cutting it with safety pins, after saying that your numbers are equal, and then cut it. Because once you make a mistake, unfortunately, there is no turning back. Look, are the side bellows here? I'm counting the first long side. There were 52 pieces. Then I'm counting the bottom part. Here it is at 14, but here I am counting as 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. The total here, look, the total of the first long side, the total of this width, we are counting the boxes, and the length of this one. In other words, I am counting these U-shaped boxes. How many U-shaped boxes are there? Look at how many boxes are there on this canvas. We will place this because look like this. This is what it will come like this. When I count the U-shaped boxes here, the number of boxes should be the same as the number of boxes on this front body piece. Make sure to equalize this by securing it with safety pins first, before shortening this part. For example, I had to remove 2 more here, for example here. I counted them incompletely. You can do such closures later. Look, these are side bellows like this. These are side boxes that will coincide with each other, so it has a very simple logic. We removed this side bellows. The total number of boxes on its 3 sides should coincide with this long side. It has such a simple logic. Look, I removed this rectangular piece that I cut and the side bellows. Now I knitted and completed it like this. I will show you how I did this step. Let's show our bag from its flat side like this. When I put it like this, we will start sewing it with the boxes now. When I close this, look at my bag, the numbers are equal. I did this beforehand. I attached it with safety pins and checked whether it was working or not, and then I did the weaving. If it is missing because it will need to be removed again, this will be quite troublesome. It is also worth mentioning this. I have shared the canvas I use now with you. I want to show you how I cut it here, which I think is an important detail. I normally do not use scissors for the fabric I cut strings with. I use the scissors I use when cutting paper, so that the scissors do not ruin it. Look, there is a piece that I cut here. How do we cut it? For example, we counted. After counting, for example, there are 1, 2, 3 boxes here. Let's separate it. Look, the middle box that comes after the third box will be empty. I have to cut it. Unfortunately, it can't cut exactly 0, 0. Look, how am I going to cut it if you're going to remove these 3, 1, 2, 3 row boxes? This hard part will remain. Look, there are short lines I'm cutting from those points. It can be cut very easily with scissors. There is no difficulty. Look like this. We cut this out. Of course, look at the boxes here. They are now opened. It shouldn't be like this. It can come out like this. In other words, this edge part should remain hard textured. Look, for example, let this be the side bellows part. As I said, this is made up of 14 boxes. I also shared the dimensions with you. Look, we will remove the piece like this. Then, for example, we will use the piece here. Here, look, there is a jagged point left. Parts of the cut boxes are left. From here on, if I need it, I start cutting like this, again based on this thick line, this long line, without breaking that line and without thinning it. Small pieces are falling out here. Look, I'm removing it like this. This remains quite hard because when we weave it, this part should not be weak, because we will join the pieces of our bags together from these edges. It should not be weak at this point. Look, we are preparing our canvas pieces by cutting like this. I used the export surplus threads of the Himalaya brand for my bag. I had shared these threads with you before. Some of you may remember, in the video of the What I Bought corner. I want to show the texture of the thread up close. Look, it is a woolen, felted, slightly soft, thick structured thread. It is a very light thread. There was no label on this thread. Unfortunately, I cannot say that it is an equivalent to that thread. When I bought it, it was sold in 500 grams. It was in bags, packages, and did not have a label on it. So unfortunately, I cannot give information about the thread, because this is an export surplus thread. I only know this. It is an export surplus thread of the Himalaya brand. You do not necessarily have to use this type of thread. According to the canvas you will be embroidering, you can use any yarn that is thick enough to pass through these holes, but in any texture you want. That is, it does not necessarily have to be this type of yarn. It does not matter what content can pass through these holes. It can be woolen. It can be a hairy yarn. You can prepare such a bag with any yarn you want. One point we will pay attention to. Here's that we will use a crochet hook that can pass through these boxes. It can easily enter and exit while passing through this, but you can also determine your own crochet hook number so that it can easily enter and exit with the yarn. You can determine your own crochet hook number according to your yarn. The crochet hook number I will use here will be 2.5 millimeters and an etamine needle that can pass through the boxes, because we will be sewing last. Look, I will use an etamine needle like this, because after embroidering our last canvas, we will sew from the edges. This needle should also be able to pass through these boxes. Actually, these are the materials we will be using basically. Now I am taking out a little bit of my yarn. I'll show you how I did it here. We'll just chain. There's no difficulty. It goes very easily. Look, let's do it lengthwise right away. I'll show you on a small side. The point we'll start with is the first box. Look, I'm inserting my hook directly into the first box here. I'm taking my yarn to the end of my hook, and I take it out of the first box. After removing this loop, you can leave a little bit of long thread here. We will hide that thread later. Now, since my thread is thick and textured, I left a box here and sank into the next box. But your thread will be different. You can sank into every box, or your thread will be hairy. You can skip 2 boxes here. In other words, if this plastic part is closing and the plastic part is not visible, you can skip and proceed as many boxes as you want. Here we have removed the first loop. I am leaving 1 box here. Look, I am sank into the next second box. After I sink in here, I take my yarn back to the end of my hook. I took out a loop from here again. Look, I had a loop waiting at the moment. I took out another loop from here. Now we are pulling a chain. In fact, we are pulling a chain by completely losing the chain logic. I passed the second loop I took out from here through the first waiting loop. Now I leave a box here. I sink into the next box. I take my yarn to the end of the hook. See if I took out the loop from this space, and I pull my chain by passing it through the waiting loop. Let's tighten this point like this. Look, in this way, we get a spike to spike image. We left a box. We sank into the second box. We took the loop from here and passed it through the waiting loop like this. Let's continue. Look, it goes quite easily, just with a chain. Now look, we left a box here again. We'll sink into the next box. Sometimes there can be only one box left in these last finishes. That's what happened when I was working on this. Look, two came across here. If there's only one last box left here, let's say we sank here. There's only one last box left here. You can return by sinking into this last box on your turns. You don't have to do this completely, leaving a gap and sinking into the next box. Now look, we're sinking into the last box. We've got our loop again. And we slipped from the other loop. Now we need to move on to the next column. It's the same logic, there's no difference. Look, we worked our chain spike by spike like this. Now I'm moving on to the next box. I'm sinking directly, there's no difference. I took off a loop again. Look, I slid it from my other loop without skipping a box. I've pulled my chain here. Now I'm going down. I went up. I'm going down. Look again, the same logic. I'm leaving a box. I took off a loop by sinking into the next box, and I slid it from the current loop. I leave a box and sink to the next box. Now I'm going down. I do the same thing down. I left a box. I continue like this to the next one. Look, it's going pretty fast. Last look, I left the box. I sank into the last box. I made my slide. Now I'm going to move to the next column. For this, I'm sank into the box right next to it. Without skipping the box, slide and see we slipped it from our other loop. What do we do immediately? We continue the same process. We leave a box and continue working in this way by sinking into the next box. And the last box. Look, we are weaving like this and we are embroidering it on the canvas like this. I have completed my pieces here as I have described to you. Now look, we will move on to joining them. Before joining, I will definitely knit my pieces together with safety pins. I will use safety pins like this for this. By the way, it is useful to state this. Look, while knitting these side bellows, after pulling my chain here, after dipping into the last box, I cut my yarn a little bit before moving on to the last color and took it out like this, because we will sew the edge parts and join them at the end. Look, this is the flat part of my bag here. Let's look at the reverse side like this. When we embroider, I want to show it on this other piece, the back of the piece we made together. Look, this is what it looks like. I will not sew this bag with a pair of shoes, but you can extend the life of your bag by sewing shoes. I recommend that you sew shoes. But even if you don't sew the aces, look at the inside. It looks very nice like a fabric texture. This is the reverse side, and the plain side is here. It looks really stylish and beautiful on both sides. Now look, I will sew these pieces to the edges with safety pins. Now I'm going to sew the last boxes. Here I'm going to sew the first boxes here and attach these pieces together with safety pins. Look, I made stitches with safety pins like this here. Now I'm taking my etamine needle. We're going to start sewing. Look, I'm opening the last point here. After pulling the last chain here, look, let's open it like this. After sinking into the last box from here, we remove this loop. Let's take out the hook needle. Look, we took out this last loop from the last box after cutting our thread. Now we take it here. We are tired of this last box again. We take the inside part of this thread that we took out again. We have closed this point here now in this part. We had a long rope that we left behind. After shortening my rope here, I take it out like this. Again with the same logic, I dip it into the last box and take the inside of this rope. This we took our yarn in this way. Now there is no need to put it on the safety pin anymore, because I will start from this corner. I will immediately put my yarn on my needle. And look, I'm going to join this piece with the other one. At this point, I'm going to dip the thread into the first box in this corner here. Then I'm going to dip into the box where my thread is. We're going to join our pieces together by stitching like this so that the boxes are equal. Look. Look here, we made the first connection. Now when we put this plastic part together, I'm going through here once more so that it won't be visible on the edge. If one stitch here isn't enough, you can make more than one stitch. Look again, I'm sinking into the first box of the big piece here. Then I come back to the first box here. And I'm sewing again. Since I have passed it a few times, it is now having difficulty getting out of here. Look, I am sewing it like this. Then I come to the other box. We come to the other second box and the other piece again to the second box, and we do our sewing here. Look, with this sewing, this part is completely closed. Then I come to the other box. If it is enough, I prick it once. I'm immediately sinking into another box opposite each other because we prepared our boxes by counting them now, by just wrapping stitching like this. There is no difference by wrapping stitching like this. We will make our piece look whole. We will combine it until this end part. Let's do our stitching as we have described to you here. Let's come to the end part here. Then we will close these mouth parts. Again, I will complete the process I did here in the other part. Finally, we will move on to closing this plastic mouth part, and then we will have prepared our bag by placing our handle. Here we are closing the side bellows as we have described to you. Look, we completed it by sewing. We mounted it on our bag. We made it whole. Now I ran out of thread here. Look, I came to this part. By making a wrapping knot here again, we lost the plastic appearance in this mouth part, that is here. Again, I changed my thread here. Look, I cut it because I ran out of thread. I left a little short thread. I will hide these threads in these inner parts with the help of the crochet hook and lose them. I will also cut and remove the excess thread. Look, by making a wrapping stitch here, we lose this visible plastic image. Look, there is no difference here. I am dipping into the remaining open box points in this last mouth part in the last parts. Actually, we have worked these boxes. Look, I am making a wrapping stitch in order to close the plastic point there. The logic is exactly the same as the one we combined the side bellows. Here I am using 2 layers. I made a single layer while making the edges. Here we make 2 layers and completely close this gap by inserting each one once. Here I will prepare my handle by knitting. Actually, I was going to use a ready-made handle here, but since I wanted to use this locking device and I did not have a handle in this color, I decided to make a handle with its own yarn. If you want, you can also use ready-made accessories, ready-made leather handles for this bag, or you can use different bamboo handles, etc. Here I will use a 3.5 mm crochet hook to knit my handle. I adjust it according to the thickness of my yarn, the density and looseness of my knitting. You can also determine your crochet hook number according to the thickness of your yarn, the density and looseness of your knitting. We will leave a little yarn at the beginning, and we will use this yarn to assemble our handle to our bag later. Here we start by making a chain. We make our first chain a lock. After the lock chain, we knit it in a way that it will not be too tight, but a little looser than the setting we knitted. We pull a total of 6 chains, 3, 4, 5, and 6. After pulling 6 chains, we turn our knitting. Here we will start knitting our single crochets by inserting them into the dotted lines on the reverse side of the chain, not the straight part on the reverse side of our knitting. Now I leave the 6th chain here. I insert the 5th chain. I took a loop directly. I have 2 loops. I knit a single crochet. I took a loop by inserting it into the dotted line on the back of the next chain. I knit a single crochet. In this way, I get 5 single crochets with 6 chains. You can increase or decrease this number of single crochets. In other words, you can work your handle thicker. Look, here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. We stretch our stitch slightly and turn the knitting needle and insert it into the first space that comes up, because we make turns without a chain. We continue to knit a single crochet by inserting it into the first space, and in this way we knit a single crochet by inserting it into the top spaces from the reverse side of each single crochet, and our final point is this 5th single crochet. We will stretch our stitch slightly again and knit our single crochets in this way by inserting into the first space that comes. We continue this process until we have 8 rows in total. Here, after knitting 2, 4, 6, 8 rows, look, after knitting the last single crochet, we turn it over like this. Here, look, we are doubling the first row that comes here. Look, at this point, without doing any process, look, we knitted our last single crochet. Let's knit this again. In fact, let's not have any smart questions. I am inserting the last single crochet and knitting a single crochet. I knitted the piece reversely and folding it in half. I am inserting my first single crochet on this side. Into the top space I'm starting to knit. See, I made the connection like this. I will have 5 single crochets again. Let's not make any increases here. 3, 4, 5. Single crochet, look, the last single crochet I knitted. 5. Single crochet. Now we will continue by knitting a complete spiral. Here, look, we made our connection. Now we will extend our cup like this by inserting into the top space of each single crochet once. Look, I dip each one once. There is no difference. No more turning, just think of it as a ring. We will complete our cup by knitting it in a spiral shape. I am knitting a little faster here so that the image comes out clearly. I'm sticking each one in once. We have a total of 5 tight stitches here. Look like this. I have taken the shape of a handle. We will sew this to our bag. This part is the cord point. Look, we will continue like this. Here is the first handle. Look, I will measure it here. I will extend it enough. Then we will do this ending part, which we did at the beginning. How did I do it here? I will share it with you right away. We extended it enough. Now, after knitting the last single crochet, we turn our knitting in the opposite direction and we knit a single crochet again by inserting into the first single crochet. We count here. We will knit 5 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, and 5 result is 4 in the single crochet. Look, we do not make a combination. Now we turn the knitting music here again. As we did at the beginning, we knit 5 single crochets by inserting into the first single crochet. 3, 4, 5. We knitted 5 single crochets again. Look, we repeat the process we did at the beginning. We left the connection here. We knitted 5 single crochets by turning the knitting. We knitted 5 single crochets by turning again. Now we will complete this in 8 rows as it is here. Then we will pull a chain and cut our rope here as much as we left at the beginning. Then look, I assembled it here. I will share the assembly process with you right away. This is how I completed it. I will share the dimensions with you. The handle size is 33 centimeters. You can prepare it in the dimensions you want. You can adjust the length according to yourself. Now look here, I had assembled the other handle. I am taking the lock part like this. Look, we sewed it from the inside. It is not visible on the outside at all because we tried not to lose our other thread that we sewed between the threads. Here, now look. We are placing it like this so that this part will remain inside. Now we will adjust it so that it will be equal to each other. Here I immediately take my thread. I insert my needle and I will adjust it so that it will be opposite to each other. This part will remain inside and this is right inside. Look, I am doing it in green color. If you do it in one color, it will not be visible at all, since it is a color transition. I want to show it like this. Since it is green, there will be no problem here. I am going inside again. I sew this by making it inside out here again. I am dipping into the part where my scent is like this. Let's dip into the pink part like this. To hide this color, since we skipped a box in between, look at the point where I stuck my needle. I am taking the inside. There is one empty box here. When I stick my needle into that empty box part and pass my thread through here again, the green color will not be too noticeable. Look, we have hidden the thread in this way. Now, as I have described to you, I want to show you a close-up. I will sew my handle here and sew my handles using the new etamine again. Finally, I will sew my apparatus. Again, I will use its own thread to sew my apparatus. I will use the thread from my bag. Here, look, we will sew this part to the front of our handle from the perforated points. I'll bring this long device to the back right away. Of course, I'll adjust this. Here, by doing cross-stitching like this, we will mount this apparatus to the back of my bag and make the lock part like this immediately and finish my bag. We have completed our bag like this. Finally, we sewed the lock part. Look, again with its own thread. We mounted it to our bag from its existing holes, again on the front. Look, there is a snap here. We have completed the snap part by sewing it again. I want to show it on the inside of our bag. After sewing your locks like this, you can hang your bag and sew it at this stage. The recipe of our bag is like this. I used about 150 grams of thread in total. I hope you like it and try it. I wish ease to those who will do it in advance. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.